Thanks for coming. My name is Mladen Milanovic, and this is Kort Svensson.
Hi, everyone.
We work for Presidio, and today we're going to be talking about how we can integrate Twilio Flex with on-prem PBX. So before we start, let's just kind of talk who is Presidio, because we want to understand, we want you guys to understand where we are coming from. So the company that we are working, we have over 2,900 employees, and we are strictly focused on IT infrastructure and the contact center business. Our customers come from different verticals, so we have over 1,200 customers in financial, insurance, and real estate industry, over 475 clients in utilities, and and around 1,000 clients that are coming from the state and local government. So what we are going to be talking about today is, first, when we are talking to our customers, they are asking about the cloud. So we're going to kind of address why our customers are exploring cloud. Also, we're going to touch about what is out there, what type of infrastructure we are facing when we are talking with our clients. We will talk about migration challenges, and then we're going to talk about how we from Presidio find a way to fix certain of those migration challenges. Kort is going to walk us through some code and some things that we develop in-house in order to integrate Flex with the on-prem PBXs. So first of all, you guys are here because you guys believe in cloud. There are certain reasons why customers want to go in a cloud. Number one reason is increased reliability and business continuity. However, the big reason why our clients are asking us about cloud, asking us about Flex, is they want to start consuming new features. Today, if you are in insurance industry, retail, you are not competing with your peer group. You are competing with Google. You're competing with Amazon, with the companies that are born digital, that are coming with a technology background and is disrupting the space. Not just their space, but they are also disrupting the majority of the industries around them. So why Twilio Flex in general? So we feel that Twilio Flex provides highest level of programmability and customization in the industry. Today, you have different solutions. And most of those solutions can be placed in a group of the traditional contact center as a service. Most of those solutions don't have a programmability and ability to customize each portion of the product. We feel that Flex is basically bridging that gap, and that's the reason why when we are talking cloud, we are talking to our customers about the Twilio Flex product. So what is out there? I don't think that we still have all those old phones, but definitely in 2017, it was around $5.7 billion was spent on on-prem PBXs. So we know for sure that we're going to be able to find some of the traditional PBXs, and we know that even 2 years ago, customers were still buying traditional PBXs and building a enterprise telephony environment, leveraging traditional PBX solutions. So keeping in mind that number, it's a huge number. It's a $5.7 billion of installed infrastructure. The number one challenge during the migration is that existing systems are not depreciated. So if you walk into the room with your CFO or CEO and talk about migration to cloud and proposing rip and replace, they're not going to do it. So we need to really understand how we can bypass that gap and find a way to leverage the existing infrastructure in order to migrate and start consuming the new cloud features. So another thing that we are seeing, talking to a couple of our financial customers, is they don't want to have their contact center isolated. So what they want to do, they want to put the contact center in a cloud and still be able for those contact center agents to call their colleagues and have that unified dial plan. Also, there is an agent retraining cost. If we move the agents from the phones and from the desktop that they kind of get used to it, we will need to retrain them. And if you have a big contact centers, that's adding up on those migration costs. So how we can fix it? Last year, we had a chance, Kort and I, to talk in Signal, and we kind of proposed a couple of different phase migrations from the on-prem to cloud. So that's something how we can basically address the depreciation issue. The CC isolation or isolation of the contact center, if we leverage programmable SIP for Twilio, we can bypass that problem and integrate with the on-prem PBX by leveraging the Twilio programmable Flex, programmable SIP. But still, there is a problem on E911. What that means? That means that if there is a problem in the contact center, you want to have your agent being able to call 911 and still push that location information over to the PSAP. That's the traditional feature and standard feature of majority of the PBXs. So we still need to think about safety, and we need to ensure that when we bolt on or when we integrate our contact center solution with the existing PBX, we still have those features available. So phase migration, programmable SIP integration still doesn't give us a answer how we're going to do the device control, how we're going to decrease retraining cost, and how we're going to deploy E911. So there are also challenges. With the phase migration, we have a challenge. It's very complex. We need to put the plan in place, and there is a lot of complexity that we need to overcome in order to make this working. Reporting is always the challenge, and also the data exchange between the cloud solution and the on-prem PBX. We need to really find the unique ways how we're going to pass that data back and forth. With the SIP integration, number one challenge that we feel is building that dial plan. You really need to sit and redesign potentially your dial plan in order to be able to call between different your cloud agents and your enterprise telephony users. So we ask ourselves, can we integrate Twilio Flex to an existing PBX? What are the requirements? So there's a list of requirements here. Number one, when we do integration, we want to leverage the existing PBX features. One of them is E911. Another one, we want to leverage existing PBX phones in order to decrease or those retraining costs. Number three, we want to make sure that unified dial plan stays intact, that we don't need to spend a numerous amount of time redesigning the dial plan. And also, we want to allow the full bidirectional support for major call control features: answer, hold, conference, transfer, and so on and so on. So we ask ourselves, is there an API for it? So that's the number one thing that we learned from Twilio. So let's figure it out if there is an API, if we can do that type of integration. So we know that it was never done before, so we try to kind of figure it out a way how we're going to do it. So before we start doing research, what type of API are available, so let's look who are the major players today in the enterprise telephone infrastructure. So according to some reports, there's a Cisco, so there's a Avaya, but also we have some collab chat applications like Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams that are also playing a big part in the enterprise telephone environment today. So when we look what APIs are available, we know that Flex is completely open, it's React-based, so we know how we can leverage that there is API for Flex. But what about on-premise PBXs? So there is two standards, and when we are talking about the standards and APIs, we are talking about CTI integration, computer telephony integration, and we are specifically talking about third-party call control. So we need to find a way or standard that we can leverage in order to provide that third-party call control between the on-prem PBX and Flex. So today on the market, and in the last probably 15 years, there's two standards that are dominant. One is TAPI, which is a Microsoft standard, and there's a JTAPI. So there's a couple of SDKs that we can leverage there. For Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business, there's a couple of different interfaces. For Skype for Business, there is a UCMA, and the portion of the Microsoft Teams Graph API are in beta that they're providing some sort of call control. So we expect that there will be more to come on the Microsoft side. So in order to solve the problem that we are talking about, what we need to do? We need to first answer how we are going to abstract an API from an on-prem PBX and integrate that API with the Flex UI and Task Router. And we need to create really the REST API that can be universally consumed from the connectors and basically develop those connectors for different PBXs. So, Court, can you just tell us now and walk us through the way how we did all that abstraction and all that integration?
Sure. I'll switch with you here.
Sure.
Yeah, so as Mohan said, the way we take a look at these is we need to understand, the pieces we're bringing together. So what we have is, as we said, we have to abstract away the PBX so that we can bring up and leverage what it offers and allow us to work with those phones, and then also to adapt that into the Flex environment. So, and the way we do that is we want to build out and offer, a REST API that we can integrate straight into Flex for that. So the way we went about that is we wanted to write an API and just abstract away all the complexities of the JTAPI environment and to make it where it's consumable by Flex so that we can provide these integrations. So this is an example of what we've mocked up, is we mocked up an interface into PBX by using JTAPI. It allows us to basically set up a phone as a SIP endpoint as your worker in Flex or in TaskRouter, pass those calls over a programmable SIP trunk, and match it up to your phone system on your JTAPI side. And it allows you to place and terminate calls right through there. So we're building a foundation that we can see when those calls are coming in. Additionally, by laying on top of the JTAPI environment, I can monitor when those phone calls arrive, when they are answered, and when they're not answered, and potentially I can drive those phone calls from that side. So I can force them to answer on their own, I can terminate those phone calls, hang them up, or resume them. So. The second part of that is obviously we have here what's also the observer. So you are integrating to this JTAPI environment. You have to talk to a number of nodes in this environment. So you have to observe this session because it's a TCP session into these servers, separate from your REST API, and you have to make sure that hey, it's running, it's up and going, and that we're getting those events as we expect as things happen on that PBX. Again, by monitoring these things and monitoring those events and having that observation level, we can propagate those things up into Flex and allow Flex to see what is going on in that PBX. And that also allows us to build the pathways for us to do the hold and resume, update the Flex UI, run React components that can change and update and show us what's going on the PBX side to mirror and match what's happening in Flex. So, and the third part of this is we have a gateway interface. So what we had to also do is to provide all this API and this capabilities up into your Flex side, and also into your worker API. So you can hit into TaskRouter, update your workers as things happen. So for instance, you take your phone off the hook, you don't want to receive a call center phone call through Twilio and through Flex. So basically you're updating your worker as soon as a phone comes off the hook. And you allow that, the vice path or the reverse path of that is, as soon as you get a call delivered or you answer that call from Flex, pushes right down through this API and it gets you right there into and answering your phone. So. And then the next stage of that is, obviously, we have to augment Flex and the React components to use this SIP environment and to operate correctly in that. So the way we went about that is we went through to your Twilio React class and we learned how to do plugins. So we built a plugin that will basically mirror and adapt the Flex environment to work with this gateway. And it's smart enough to know, say, hey, we are operating in a SIP environment. We are passing phone calls to a PBX, and we'll smartly update and send that information to this gateway. And if not, if you're just using a standard worker, using a WebRTC, we won't use that, and we'll adjust accordingly. So, and again, then we can build that plugin out any way we need to get it to operate as we want. So. Additionally, this is just an example of some of the things that you have to think about. So obviously, we want to have full call control and full phone control, as Mohan talked about, to take phones on hook, off hook, hold calls, resume calls, transfer calls, and resume, conference in calls. So there's obviously the manager API within the React plugins and the Flex plugins allows you to override a lot of these events that are happening within the Flex environment. Same as you are on the JTAPI side, that you are able to override and watch all these events as they happen. So if a call gets delivered into your Flex agent, or theoretically even an email, or a chat, you can monitor these events, and as these things happen, update the phone system, update the other side, and adjust accordingly. So. And then here's just a couple other examples of, as we are on the call, how we have to update state within these React components. So if anybody out here is familiar with the React that is used within Flex and how these events are happening, and you're used to overriding some of these things, these are some of the things you will look at and think about as you're managing phone calls in this type of environment. All right, so the other side of this is we also wanted to look at some of these collab apps and chat apps and see what we could do for integrations with that. So we first looked at the Microsoft Teams. Most of their APIs are currently, as Mladen said, in beta. So some of their call control APIs they're pretty new. They're not as robust as we'd hopefully like to see them, but they're supposed to change. So we started looking at Skype for Business to see what we could do there. So we had to do the similar type of integration. We have to bring SIP in from programmable SIP into the environment on-prem and bring it into Skype for Business. So obviously we do that with a gateway, an SPC there in the environment. And it's pretty standard setup for Skype for Business on how to do this. So, but one front-end pool and a mediation server, you basically get your SIP into the environment with your RTP. And then one trunk that's pushing back to Twilio. So, the one big thing is typically, obviously everybody here knows that Twilio is using an E164 dial plan. Skype out of the box does not use that, so you have to do some normalization of the dial plan to get it there and to update those things. So here's just a quick example of some of those things that have to happen. So, and this will allow calls to come through seamlessly. You could do this on your SBC. It's pretty easy to do it here. You don't have to do it on the command line. So. And then just a couple examples of just some of the configuration you'd have to do in Skype for Business to get this together. Pretty straightforward stuff. Basically, you're just getting these calls to come into an agent. So, and then, of course, your enterprise user will match that. So what you see here for your enterprise user for the telephone number will actually match your SIP URI that you would use in your Flex environment for your contact. So basically what Flex will do is going to send to that telephone number that you see there across your SIP infrastructure from programmable SIP. And that's how you're going to get those phone calls in. And this is a lot of what we showed last year. So, all right, and then here is the overall architecture. So of these two environments of what you see, we are sending calls into Twilio, and that's obviously what we want. We are working on a migration path to get off these on-prem systems into Twilio and into Flex. So we bring these calls in, and obviously we want to pass those in the voice over to that phone system in the PBX over the SIP network. And at the same time, we are using the cloud gateway to abstract away the Flex environment and abstract away the PBX environment so that we can move different PBXs in, write adapters for them, and to make these adjustments. The one big thing we found is that the JTAPI environments are very robust. They've been around for 20 years, I think now?
Yep.
Quite a while. They are very robust call controls. Some of the newer APIs, as you start looking at these, like Graph API, are not as robust and they don't offer as many options. So we were able to get a full solution all the way through for any JTAPI supported PBX. Some of these newer ones, they're not quite there yet. So what we found is that they're a little harder to integrate into Flex just because of a lack of a fully developed API on their end. So, but that's the architecture. It's pretty easy to do, and then you can slowly start bringing agents up into Flex when you're ready. So
we can just add a couple of things. So in our initial design, we have that Presidio telephony gateway placed on-prem, because in initial design, we just didn't want to spend lots of time on security. But definitely, the architecture and design allows to pull the Presidio gateway in a cloud and host on any of the cloud providers. But in that time, we need to do and implement some encryption on the JTAPI in order to increase the security of the overall solution. But in general, we expect as we are developing a product and as we are testing to implement the encryption on a JTAPI on a signaling level as well. So,
and the technologies use this. We build all this in Java just due to time and JTAPI, so that's where we started. But you can build this in just about any language you can, depending on what you need. You can abstract this away and build these types of integrations and build these migration paths for your customers. If you're, think about it and understand what you're getting into. But this will help meet those business needs of ensuring that you continue to have full PBX enterprise calling where you need it, E911. And you can start leveraging the things and the beauty of Twilio and what they offer here and consume those for your customers without them having to ditch this whole enterprise call system that they have. So, see, and what's next? We have a couple videos here of just some of these integrations. I'm going to move over here so I can talk to Christopher. And this first one is showing out call delivery from Skype for Business. And what we have here is gateway on the left, Flex on the right. Call's going to come in to Flex, and we're going to reserve the task. Complete it, and it's going to come across that gateway and show up in your Skype for Business endpoint. Now, one thing you'll see here is it's ringing in, and I can answer here, and it's going through Twilio, so I'm leveraging everything that we have there, but I don't have any of the advanced call control on this side. So because of the limitations in the API that aren't quite there yet, I cannot hold and resume this call from this end. So I have to hang up on my phone, And then I have to complete the task in Flex, but I cannot control it from the Flex UI, which is, it's a limitation. And it's not quite what we were hoping for, but that's kind of some of the things you might come across. So the second one, what we have here is, okay, so this is going to be an example with the JTAPI gateway. This call is going to come in. We're going to demonstrate you have full call control and full phone control in the middle of this. So call is getting brought into Flex. We're accepting that call. It's coming across our SIP gateway. It's ringing our device here. We answered from Flex. Now we're going to hold that call right out of Flex, and you can see the phone goes on hold. And you can see the SIP changing in the RTP. We resume that call. You see the RTP changing on the gateway, and then we can complete it and hang up. So we have, with the JTAPI environment, because of how mature those APIs are, we can fully control just about any PBX that has JTAPI support right through Flex, which is powerful. That provides that whole pathway that Mladen was talking about that ensures our customers can continue on and go that way. So, and then the last thing we want to show, the next one here is state change. So obviously this has to be bidirectional. If I pick up my phone call and call my wife at home, I don't want to get a phone call from a customer. I need to go not ready. So as soon as I take it off hook, you would have seen that he went to busy and then went back to idle. Christopher, can you play that one more time, please? Would you play that one more time? So yeah, just watch again. As soon as we go off hook, you're going to see the worker goes busy because we have full call control, bidirectional. As soon as he goes back on hook, we're going to go back to idle. So that gives us that full call control. Otherwise, in the Skype for Business type environment, because of that API, we would actually have to log out or manually go not ready. I have to think about that, and agents are going to forget about that. So this gives us that bidirectionality that we are really looking for. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Mladen.
Yeah. So anyway, so you guys are seeing that in order to really create a full integration, there's a couple of things that we need to think through. And number one thing is we need to ensure that there is a call control, but also we need to ensure that we are pushing those events back to a task router. Why that's important? Because at the end of the day, if you are running the call center, you would like to have a reporting. And reporting is the most important part of the running the contact center business. So at the end of the day, the pushing the events of what's happening from the agent perspective, from a call control perspective, back to the task router is going to help us to have like really end-to-end reporting, and that we can really look and see the agent performance over time. So anyway, so just key takeaways in talking to our customers. Definitely we are seeing that they're eager to start consuming cloud and start consuming digital features. We do have customers with a significant investment in a PBX, and we as a system integrator were looking for ways to integrate and to help the ways how our customers can start adopting the Flex. So another thing is we are striving and trying to keep the IT and the retraining costs low, because at the end of the day, you guys have IT organizations that are maintaining that PBX, and they're accustomed to that PBX, and we want to make sure that they are still able to keep some control over the investment that they make. So we have the booth downstairs, so visit us over there. We can talk, or we still have a time, so if you guys have any questions, Court and I are here to help out or answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.